Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of See What the Cards Have to Tell Us. I'm your host, Eric Stearns, and of course, your local cosmic intuitive here. Hope I don't have the background that makes my hair look a little too weird. I don't know. I'm looking at myself. I'm like going, I have like a thin veil over me or something. Anyways, I don't know. Maybe synchronistic to the reading. Who knows? But anyways, welcome to episode number 3, as it were, and giving you kind of an update as far as what the energies are trying to tell us, what's going on in the world, how we can navigate it, especially considering the fact that things just continue to be chaos. I don't need to go through any of the headlines or anything like that as far as what's happening. So let's roll right into it, shall we? As a matter of fact, I'll give you kind of a summary. This is kind of a reading that is kind of giving us a how should I say, a look into ourselves, a look into what we need to do, how we need to self-care, so forth and so on. Those are the kind of the themes: self-care, setting of boundaries, and being able to go within to find the treasures within in order to manifest the abundance without, and also at the same time making light of, or making how should I say, making the best of what's going on and stuff like that. I think we all need that to a certain degree, don't you think? So anyways, let's get into it, and let's get this thing rolling, because I've got an appointment I've got to go to, and I've got to prepare for that as well. So let's knock this puppy out, shall we? So let's go over here to the cards, and let's look at what the fifth element or fifth row says. The East card is very interesting because you see the elements or feathers here. The elements or feathers is basically a card that is reminding us that yes, we are definitely within the maelstrom of chaos, all sorts of different changes, all sorts of different conflicts, things of that nature, and it is definitely one to basically challenge us on every level. However, as you can see, the tree here that has the feathers on it has deep roots, and it's standing there in the storm. And yes, it's getting blown about, but it's not being knocked over. As a matter of fact, it's even resisting the storm. And this is what the East represents, is kind of what's up for us right now. So right now we're having to develop those deep roots. We're having to develop the nature, the nurture, as it were, in order to give ourselves a stronger nature and weather the storm, as it were, and give a greater balance, as it were, to ourselves as well as to our community. So basically, this is saying that yes, we can do it. There's more on the way, unfortunately, but if we stay deep rooted, if we stay grounded, if we stay less hijacked by the reactions of the media and others around us, and especially governments and stuff like that, then we'll end up keeping our identity, we'll end up keeping our freedom and our sovereignty, as it were. And that's basically what the element or feathers is, on the East is reminding us. And it's a good thing because of the fact that it's right side up. This is a positive note. The solar logos is interesting. The 10 of feathers is on the South, which is our community. The community basically says, or basically is reminding us that we are in a state of completion, or heading towards a state of completion. It's not there yet. It's still a little bit down the road. That's why it's reversed. But what this is saying is that this is basically talking about integration of our inner light, our inner strength, as it were, whatever you want to call it, and making sure that we, when we do this, then basically that becomes the new foundation for our community, our families, whether it be soul families, physical families, whatever. That this is basically something that's being challenged within us. So this is saying to look within that strength, look within the inner light, and you'll be able to find that in other people as well, and therefore be able to build the communities. Now, the West is really interesting because of the fact that the the Fool comes up. And I was like, when I drew this, I'm like going, what in the hell? Did I draw the wrong card or what? But when I look at it as compared to the whole spread, basically what this is reminding us is that our greatest advantage is to stay in the present. Don't do a lot of future what ifs or what have you, certain situations with regards to, being, left in fear, so forth and so on. This is saying, okay, let's just be a part of the present. Let's just go with the flow. Again, the elements or feathers kind of reminds us of that, basically going with the flow, but doing it with deep roots. The Fool is basically saying, look, this is about innocence. This is about coming back to ourselves, coming back to whom we are, and staying in the present allows us to more proactively deal with the situation rather than basically saying, oh, wait, what if this, what if that, so forth and so on. This is basically saying that in order to deal with what's going on right now, we need to stay in the present, basically. So the Four of Stones is going beyond. Again, that's reversed as well. That's the lesson that's at hand. And when I ask the question, what is beyond upside down in the north, this is basically saying, this is basically broadening our horizons, redefining our boundaries, redefining what does and what is within us, basically cleaning house, so that way we can get greater space to work with. This is what the whole lesson as far as the present time is all about, is basically cleaning the BS out so that way we can make room for treasures and stuff like that. And some of the cards in the additional deck or the other two decks will reflect that, especially in the shamanic deck, which I'll get to here in just a couple minutes. So that is really interesting. So if we look at the axes, or wait a minute, hold on. Let me go down to here. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, otherwise it won't make sense. The Magician is reversed in the Mother Earth position. Mother Earth position, of course, is the cause of the prophecy, or the foundation of the prophecy, or what could be if everything goes the way that it is. Now, the Magician is reversed because of the fact that there are two things that come to mind when this comes up in that position. First of all, the Magician reversed is basically telling us that we need to look into our inner magic, look into our inner power, look at our potential, and look at what it is that we can do as an individual and as a collective community, society, so forth and so on, and bring about change and bring about a new paradigm shift that is being offered to us. Not necessarily the new normal, which is being shoved down our throats. No, this is something that is more of the new humanity, the empowered humanity. What this is also telling me is that right now, what we're being kind of reminded is that our technology has gone way beyond our spirituality. So what we need to do is we need to bring that back into balance. We need to balance our technology with our spirituality. Is the technology serving us as far as our being able to be a how do I put it? Being able to be a stronger person, a more spiritually aware person. And it doesn't matter what pathway you're on or what path you seek. It's still the same thing. So it's very much universal there. The other thing that is coming up as well is that it's kind of a warning. As I said before, our technology is outpacing our spirituality, and there are those, i.e. the technocrats, if you want to put it that way, I refer to them as that, want to steal that away from us. And time is kind of running out for that. Like I said in the first couple of videos, these 10 years in the third decade of the millennium, or third decade rather of the millennium in the century, is basically a wake-up call. It's an evolutionary change that we're being asked to seek, basically. So we come up here on the one of fire is talking about creativity. So we're finding ways, or we're being asked to find ways of being creative, to adapt, to raise that Kundalini energy, as it were, and be of a greater being, the one that we really hope to or envision ourselves being. And so that's why the magician comes up in the Mother Earth position, because of the fact that what we're doing is we're igniting our creativity, but we're having to do it from the seventh direction. Now, the seventh direction, of course, and where are my notes? Thank you very much. Okay. The seventh direction is very interesting because we are being told that basically the seeker of feathers is focus. Right now, we're being unfocused. We're we're again choosing ourselves to be hijacked by the second wave, and the coming of the UN and the New World Order, or whatever whatever you might believe that's of great consequence coming down the pike and stuff like that. It's not. We need to basically focus on what it is that we're really working for and what we're really working towards. And again, this is what we're working towards for ourselves, not necessarily for a government, for an institution, for an entity that is a governing body, so forth and so on. This is for ourselves. So basically, if you look at the axes of the medicine wheel, you have the magician reversed, you have the focus reversed in the seventh direction, but we have the creativity. And so what this is saying is that we're having to bring the greater creativity from within. Again, redefining the boundaries of the north in order to go beyond. And then the solar logos, the inner light for community, is definitely what the path of evolution is looking like. The spiritual path is returning to innocence and focusing on that innocence and focusing on what keeps us grounded. So that's the first spread right there. And yes, I did endeavor to try to keep my feet from from entering into the picture. I don't think I was quite successful at that. I see my big toe down there. Anyways, so let's look at the shamanic deck. All right, so we have Earth in the east, and that represents nurture. Basically, what this is saying straight out is are we doing enough self-care? And since it's coming up reverse, this is saying that we're resisting it and therefore not giving ourselves enough self-care. So this is saying, when things get a little too hot and hot and heavy to handle, basically, this is what we're saying is that we need to basically pull back into a sacred space, pull back, whether it's dancing, whether it's just meditation, moving meditation, what have you. In other words, it kind of pulls you away from the chaos of the world. That's what we need to do because of the fact that things are going to get more intense. So this is basically warning us, saying that we need to nurture ourselves and be willing to say, you know what, enough's enough for right now. I can't handle it. I'm going to take a break. I'll be back later once I've kind of recouped my energy and so forth and so on. So the South card is that of bells, talking about deflection. Again, what this is talking about is basically talking to each other and talking to ourselves and talking to our communities, having those discussions, even if they are uncomfortable, in order to basically kind of defend against the BS that's thrown at us. And so therefore, what this is saying is that we need to have these discussions, no matter how uncomfortable, in order to keep ourselves from accepting negative energy and accepting negative thought, paradigms, thought patterns, whatever. I'm not trying to go new age here, but just, negative thoughts and stuff like that. Having those uncomfortable conversations so that way we can kind of get to the truth and therefore deflect the deception that is basically foisted upon us. The flute reverse is talking about or is basically talking about self-expression. It comes in upside down because of the fact that we are being oppressed as far as our self-expression. That's why the riots are very violent, so forth and so on. And what this is saying is that basically our means of expression needs to be refined and redefined because of the fact that, and I'll show you this because raccoon comes up in the West as well, and it talks about subtlety. So basically what's happening here is that basically, yes, our greatest advantage is self-expression, but doing so in a way that really artfully gets the point across, not necessarily by brute force. Up until this point, we've had basically basically things have been done by brute force. It's been, this way, or, we're going to destroy you, or whatever, all sorts of things. But now this is saying is that really the self-expression is coming through something that is more powerful, something that is not so reactionary to ourselves and to others and so forth and so on. That's why the flute comes in upside down, is because of the fact that what this is saying is that our greatest advantage is expression, but we need to change the modality of what our expression is. All right, moving on. The North is the lesson at hand, is talking about offerings. Now, this is talking about wealth. What this is saying is that in the midst of all this, this narrative of scarcity and so forth and so on, really that's an illusion, and that we do have the wealth and abundance that we do need. We just need to focus on that and focus that this is a lesson as far as taking back our power in order to take back our wealth, as it were. And it's not just material wealth as far as money and stuff like that. This is wealth of self-expression, talents, creativity, anything that is of high value that you might want to defend basically almost with your life, as far as that's concerned. Okay, so having said that, we have in the Mother Earth position, we have the Vision Quest, which is talking about seeking. In other words, this is talking about this is a journey that we're taking on. We're taking on a journey in order to find what is really real to us. And so that is basically what the prophecy card, or one of the prophecy cards, has to say. Then on top of that, we have the medicine bag, which is talking about treasure. Again, this comes in upside down because of the fact that this is talking about treasure in values, treasure in self-sustenance, treasure as far as the treasure from within, the divine rights, as it were, to kind of give a phrase to it. This is basically saying that this is basically what we have to offer ourselves. And if we go through this vision quest, if we go through the journey, if we go all the way, then what we will find is not only wealth in the economic sense or the material sense and stuff like that, but at the same time, there's an even greater wealth that is emerging, and that is a wealth from within, because of the fact that we have really realized who we are and what we really stand for. All right, now the seventh direction is talking about the sacred spaces. This talks about basically our purpose. This is basically saying that by doing this, we need to really define our purpose as far as what we really stand for, what we really want to achieve, what we really want to move towards, and stuff like that. It comes upside down because of the fact that we're still in the process of realizing that. It's not a right or wrong. It's not a situation that is bad. If you look at the axis of Mother Earth and Father Sky, you have the Vision Quest, and then you have the medicine bag. This is again saying that we're really in the beginning processes, or the beginning earnest processes over the next couple of years or so of defining who we are, finding the treasures within. Again, through the east to the west, we have self-expression and nurture and stuff like that. So we're really defining the space for ourselves as far as what really takes care of us. And then of course, north to south, we have the offerings, and then we have the bells. So it's another clearing the clutter, clearing the BS, clearing the false narratives, so forth and so on, in order to find what our real purpose is. So this is turning out to be a journey for us. This is not over by any means. This is just getting started. So, you know, over the next couple of years, we'll have we'll have a lot to think about and a lot to evaluate. And it's going to come very rapidly because of the fact that a lot of these quote unquote crises are coming very rapidly. Okay, so let's look at the medicine cards, the animal medicine cards. We have the open medicine shield on the east, and basically what this is saying is that whatever, this is basically calling us out and saying, okay, what is it that we really want here? What are we really wanting to manifest for ourselves? What is it that we really want to come to us? And that's why the open medicine shield comes up in the east. Is because of the fact that we're being asked that question. And it's a question that we're going to have to answer many, many times, if not constantly, in order to keep that focus, as I mentioned before, in that first spread that we really need. The porcupine, again, what helps us with our communities, our families, so forth and so on, is a return to innocence, okay? That is something that will greatly support us. Now, as I mentioned before, raccoon is on the west. Now, raccoon is a very interesting totem. I worked with raccoon a few years ago, especially when they invaded the attic of my house. Anyways, it was quite an adventure. But raccoon is very interesting because he's kind of the subtle thief in the night. He comes in, he makes his home, but at the same time, he will also take away that which doesn't serve us. And basically what he allows us to do is to let go. When he shows up, it's because of the fact that he's reminding us that there are certain things, old paradigms, old situations, old memories, old thoughts, whatever, that need to be let go, that need to be forgiven or something like that. So basically, he's coming in as our greatest advantage because of the fact that that instead of doing everything in a masculine way, which is, get things done, let's do this with a whole bunch of power and abundance and so forth, or, abundance of power and force and so forth and so on. Raccoon is like, no, we don't really need to do that. We can release those things in a better way, and something that's less harmful and less traumatic, as it were, because that's one thing that we're really having to I wouldn't say avoid, but ameliorate, basically, is the trauma, basically. So in the north, we have butterfly. So the lesson here that is being offered to us, so the wisdom of the whole situation is basically transformation, okay? When we transform, we come through the chrysalis, we go through the struggle. That's what we're going through right now. But what this is saying is that we can do it. And when this journey is completed, we are going to be totally different. We're going to look totally different in the fact of the way that we carry ourselves, the way that we communicate, the way that we gather, the way that we, and I'm not saying this is by distancing, so forth and so on. No, I'm not saying that. I don't believe in the new normal. I think that's something that's being shoved down our throats, but I'll get into that later on in subsequent videos. But really the wisdom is basically saying, how can we transform? How can we make this struggle a rite of passage and therefore gain a greater sense of who we are and therefore a greater inner treasure? There it is again, right? Okay. So the wolf on the Mother Earth side is basically helping us do that. Wolf is the hunter. She is also the one who talks about cunning. When you go hunting, you have to use some cunning. You have to use strategy and so forth and so on. And so wolf is showing us that we are masters at laying out a new strategy, something that works, being able to adapt and being able to capture that prey that we really are after. And of course, what is that prey? Well, it's a new self. It's a new heightened awareness, a new powerful way of being human. Not technologically, we're talking spiritually here. So the open medicine shield comes in upside down on the Father Sky because the wolf is asking us, what do we want? What are we really after? What is it that we really want to manifest for ourselves? Okay, so having said that, the deer comes up in the seventh direction. Now, this is how we can relate to everything. Okay, seventh direction is basically from the inside. So basically, how do we ourselves, in order to achieve this, how do we ourselves come to accomplish this? Well, deer is about gentleness. I'll share with you a little bit of a story here that I was told by an elder. And deer was on the pathway. It was during the time that the creation, the creatures of creation, both humans and animals, were not talking to Creator anymore. And there was this wondering of why are we not hearing from Creator anymore? Why are we not hearing from from the great wisdom that we're all a part of? So deer goes out and says, well, I'm going to go and check this out. So deer takes the pathway, fawn actually, takes the pathway up to Creator. And right in front of her is this huge demonic spirit. And he's just, being as fearful and as, just intimidating and just, all the negativity in order to try to frighten Fawn. And Fawn says, and the spirit asks, why are you here? Well, Fawn says, oh, I'm here to talk to Creator. There's a lot of us down here who miss our Creator. And the spirit was like, no, you cannot talk to spirit. He doesn't want to talk to you. And deer goes, no, I don't think so. And so the more that this spirit tried to intimidate Fawn, the more peaceful Fawn got, and the more playful she got, because of the fact that she was just kind of playfully challenging him, asking all these sorts of questions. Do you really think that the Creator just wants to abandon us? And just throwing all sorts of trick questions out there and all that stuff. Well, longer story short, the spirit basically depletes his energy, so he shrinks way down to the size of a pebble. And so Fawn just kind of, with her front hoof, just kind of kicks him out of the way off the path and makes her way to Creator. And Creator asks, where have you been? Oh, well, Fawn says, there was a big spirit in the pathway that was saying that you didn't want to talk to us and stuff like that. And I just basically, with my gentleness that you gave me and all that, and my playfulness, I just basically depleted his energy, and now he's no longer a factor. Great Spirit says, you have passed the test. You have become the guardian of gentleness. So that's where Fawn comes in. And so that's what we are having to do. We are having, let me look at the camera here. We are having to, how do I get out of this? Okay, let's see. Stop share. There we go. Okay. So basically, this is what we're having to do. We are having to be the deer. We're having to be Fawn. And with the advent of the whole, the mainstream narrative, as it were, and so forth and so on, telling us about, the coming second wave and all these riots and all of, the racial tensions and hatred. What the hell is the computer doing? Anyways, that's not my hair doing that. Anyways, the situation is that through gentleness, through kindness and playfulness, that's where we are basically coming into our own fruition. That's where we're claiming our own power, and that's where we are now coming back to the to our connection with Creator, God, Allah, Great Spirit, the grand spaghetti monster, whatever you want to call it. And why are my shoulders despairing? Anyways, I love the virtual backgrounds, but good Lord. Anyways, my cloaking device is malfunctioning. Anyways, this is where our greatest potential comes into play. So this is what this is all about. In summary, we are basically coming into, we're basically being challenged to find our inner innocence, clear out the cobwebs of the old paradigms and so forth and so on, and really ask ourselves some very poignant, very empowering questions in order to gain back our power. Because now what we're being asked is, where do we want to go from here? What do we want to do? What do we see ourselves as becoming? So forth and so on. And what do we want our communities to look like? Do we want it to look like, this dystopian, gobbledygook that's coming down the pike that, the technocrats want us to, that want us to live in, that is essentially dehumanizing, which we're already going through right now with all the masking and social distancing. I get now suspicious of any term that is, begins with the adjective social, because chances are it's probably a little suspect, possibly. Anyway, just saying, anyways, but, that's basically where we're at right now. And that's basically the reading for this week. So I hope you enjoyed it. It looks a little more positive. It seems like the universe is kind of giving us a little bit of a coaching call, as it were, which is good. I can use it. I don't know about you, but if you can, if you can use it and you do appreciate it, well, like and share this video. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. And, so that way you get notifications. And until next time, as always, I will see you on the other side of the flip side. So take care, everybody. I'll talk to you next time.